In this video, I'm going to show you why a painting business can be doing real revenue, getting real leads, and staying busy, and still be one bad week away from a cash crisis. And if that's where you are, the answer usually is not to go spend more on ads. The answer is to fix the order you're making decisions in. If you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering the answer to these three questions. First, how can a company be doing around 1.5 million and still have about $7,000 in cash? Second, how do you know if your real problem is leads, labor, or your own money habits? And third, when is it actually smart to increase ad spend without making cash flow worse? If we haven't met, my name is Daniel Honan. I'm a CPA and former painting business owner. I've helped over 500 painting businesses from startup to 20 million in revenue, know their numbers, and save big in tax. I want to walk you through a real pattern I see all the time. A painting business was doing about 1.5 million in revenue. There was some lead momentum. The business was active, and from the outside, it looked like things were moving. But when we got into the numbers, they only had about $7,000 in cash. And in the middle of that, they were debating whether they should spend more on advertising. This is the exact moment where a lot of owners make the wrong move. Because when you feel pressure, more leads feels like the answer. But if your cash is already broken, more volume can just push more money through a broken system. So the real conversation in that meeting was not, how do we grow faster? It was, what is the actual bottleneck right now? And this is where I want owners to think more clearly. In a painting business, you usually have one primary constraint at a time. You either have a demand problem, meaning not enough good leads and sales. Your team can't produce it profitably. You have a labor problem, meaning you have work, but you can't produce that work reliably. Or you have a policy and behavior problem, meaning the business is getting choked by how money is being handled. And that third one gets missed all the time because the owner says, but we're busy. Yeah, you can be busy and still be cash starved. You can have revenue and still be broke. You can be profitable on paper and still not have cash in the bank. And that's the first mindset shift. Profit is not cash, busy is not healthy, and growth is not the same thing as stability. So let's break down what was really going on in that situation. First, cash reserves were way too low. A healthy painting business should not be sitting there with almost no cushion. If you've got less than 1 month of overhead costs in the bank, you are in the danger zone. That means one delayed payment, one payroll cycle, one customer issue, one surprise bill, and now you're in panic mode. And once you're in panic mode, decision quality drops fast. That's when owners start reacting instead of leading. Second, labor costs were running too high. This matters because labor is one of the biggest ways a painting company leaks profit and cash. If labor performance is loose, then every job takes more hours than it should. Gross profit gets squeezed. Cash gets squeezed. And now the owner starts blaming leads because the bank account feels tight. But more leads do not fix labor that's out of control. They just give you more jobs with the same leak. For employee-based painting businesses, labor has to be disciplined. A strong rule of thumb is that employee labor should stay around 1/3 of the job price. If labor is blowing past that, your gross profit starts falling out of the healthy range. That's not a marketing problem, that's an execution problem. Now third, owner jobs needed to stop. This one is uncomfortable, but it's real. A lot of owners take money out of the business whenever they feel the pressure personally. The problem is the business still has payroll, it still has marketing, it still has materials, it still has overhead. So now the company is trying to grow while the owner is draining the working capital it needs to operate. And then the owner looks at the empty bank account and says, I think I need more leads. No, not first. If the business is already short on cash, pulling out money needed for operations makes the problem worse. You do not need to fix a cash-starved business by starving it more. That's why I tell owners, if you're constantly taking distributions or pulling money whenever you need it, you may not have a lead problem at all. You may have a owner behavior problem. And I don't say that to be harsh. I say it because if you diagnose it correctly, you actually can fix it. So here's the right order. Step 1, stabilize cash. That means get clear on how much cash you need to have versus your monthly overhead. If you're under 1 month of overhead costs as cash, treat it like a real issue. Collect overdue receivables. tighten deposits, use progress payments, make sure customer payments are arriving before major cash leaves the business. For a lot of painters, this one change is massive. When you stop fronting labor, materials, and customer acquisition costs out of your own checking account, cash pressure drops fast. Step 2, tighten labor performance. If crews are overrunning jobs, if labor hours are loose, if gross profit is weak, fix that before you pour gas on the fire. You need job budgets. You need labor accountability. You need to know whether the crew is actually producing inside the target, because if labor is sloppy, growth gets expensive fast. Step 3, stop personal withdrawals from choking the company. Pay yourself with discipline. That does not mean never pay yourself. It means the business cannot be your emergency ATM. Owner compensation has to happen in a way that the company can support. If the company does not have stable cash, strong profitability, and room to breathe, random draws are not helping you. They're hurting both you and the business. If you get value from this type of information, grab a free copy of my book, Profitable Painter. Click the link in the description to grab a free copy, just cover the shipping. Now, once you've done those first 3 things, then you can ask the ad spend question the right way. And this is where a lot of owners skip ahead. They assume that because growth sounds exciting, marketing should come first. But here's the better question. If I spend more on leads right now, do I have the cash system, labor system, and owner discipline to turn that growth into healthy cash? If the answer is no, hold the line, because marketing spend hits early. You spend on ads before the job starts. You spend sales efforts before the job starts. You take on labor before the customer fully pays. So if your deposits are weak, your progress payments are weak, your labor is weak, and your owner draws are draining the account, ad spend can make the whole thing tighter. And that's why I want owners to think in sequence. Cash first, labor second, owner discipline third, then marketing. And to be clear, I'm not anti-marketing. There absolutely are businesses where more ad spend is the right move, but only after you confirm that demand is actually the constraint. If cash is unstable and the business is still leaking, demand is not the first issue. The first issue is that the business is not holding onto enough money long enough to operate safely. That's the real lesson from this company doing about 1.5 million with only about $7,000 in cash. The problem was not that nothing was happening. The problem was that the wrong things were being funded before the right things were fixed. And once you see that clearly, your decisions get simpler. Don't scale stress. Don't buy more volume just because you feel pressure, and don't confuse movement with strength. A strong painting business does a few things in order. It secures profitability, it controls cash flow, it pays the owner responsibly, and then it uses marketing from a position of strength, not panic. This is how you stop being busy and broke. So if your business feels busy, but the bank account still feels scary, don't assume you need more leads first. Start by asking what the real bottleneck is. If cash is low, build reserves and improve payment timing. If labor is loose, fix the labor performance. If owner draws are draining operations, stop the bleed. Only then decide whether ad spend is the next move. Don't spend like you're growing when your cash is still broken. If this hit home, the next video you should watch is how to tell whether your real bottleneck is leads, labor, or owner behavior, because once you diagnose that correctly, you stop wasting money solving the wrong problem.